Hey guys, Coach Nick here with the 10-0 Mindset, where my goal is to provide you with all of the tools, resources, and support that you need to create happier, healthier gymnastics. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. In today's episode, we're going to take a quick stroll through all 4 of the competitive events in women's gymnastics and how we can positively and intelligently approach them with a mindset that leads us to success. It's no secret that you've got a favorite event. Everybody's got one, and most of us know what yours is. Now, obviously, I didn't compete in women's gymnastics. I competed in men's gymnastics. But I had a favorite event too, and my favorite events were vault and parallel bars. The truth is, whether you're doing men's or women's gymnastics, trampoline and tumbling, acrobatic or even rhythmic gymnastics, each event comes with different characteristics, different goals, and different skill profiles. Now, what that means for you is that you'll have to approach training them differently. Even before you make it to physically practicing them, you have to mentally approach them separately. In this short episode, we'll go through the 4 competitive events, and I'll give you some things to think about so that you can quickly switch your mindset and refine your focus as you're transitioning from event to event, whether that's in practice or even during a competition. First up, moving along in the Olympic order, is vault. Like I mentioned, vault is one of my favorite events for the simple reason that it's over with the fastest. It's important to keep in mind that because vault has the shortest duration by far, each component that makes up vault is that much more important. Alright, so some things to keep in mind for vault. First, the importance of a technically correct and optimized run cannot be overemphasized. The energy that you put into and get out of the vault table is built up during the run. You will never be able to make a great vault out of a subpar run. Make sure that your arms and legs are swinging quickly at 90-degree angles and that your body is leaning forward slightly during the run. You should accelerate all the way through the vault, never slowing down on your way to the vault. The second concept to really keep in mind is body stiffness, or body tightness, or body tension, or whatever you want to call it. Vault is one of the only events where the actual apparatus itself does a lot of the work for you. I like to think of vault in 3 distinct phases, which I call the create phase, the conserve phase, and the convert phase. First, we create energy through our run. Then we go into the conserve phase, where we strive to maintain that energy through our hurdle to the springboard and our transition to the vault table. In order to conserve the energy that we've built up through our run, we have to keep our body tight during our transition to the springboard and the vault table. This means that we can't bend our legs too much on the springboard, and that we can't bend our arms, collapse our shoulders, or slouch our back once we contact the vault table, or else we'll leak energy out that we could have utilized. The final concept I like to emphasize on vault is that we create faster flipping rotation by pulling our limbs toward the center of our body. A simple way to think about this is in body segments. Think of a completely stretched or laid out position. The body is all one long segment with no noticeable breaks in between. Whereas if we were to pike, we would see 2 body segments, the upper body and the legs. If we were to tuck, we'd see 3. As we increase the number of these body segments, we also increase the flipping rotation. Thus, vaults done in the tucked position flip quicker than vaults done in the stretched position. Keep this principle in mind if your vault is over-rotating or under-rotating, or if you find yourself about to not land on your feet and you end up needing to pike down to save it. Alright, I think that's enough for vault. So let's move on to uneven bars. There are a few things that I consider to be essential when approaching bars. The first point of emphasis I think of is the importance of a perfect handstand position. Even if you're not doing skills that start from or end in handstands like cast to handstand or giant swings, a perfect stretched handstand position is absolutely vital to good uneven bars. The second idea that I like to teach my younger gymnasts especially is that there are different types of bar skills and common body actions that go along with each type. For instance, when we talk about small circling skills, a group of skills that includes pullovers, back hip circles, clear hips, and Weiler kips, all of these skills include a similar set of body actions, which includes shoulder flexion, pulling their body into the bar, a tight, hollow circling action, and shoulder extension, which pushes their body back away from the bar. Thinking of these skills collectively as part of a group helps them to easily distinguish what body actions go with small circling skills versus other groups like large circling skills, turning or pirouetting elements, release moves, and dismounts. Finally, the third idea that I really try to get people to understand is the idea of bar pressure. There should never be a moment in your bar routine or practice where you're just swinging around the bar haphazardly. You shouldn't be some passive participant in your gymnastics. You are always applying active pressure on the bar. Now, whether that pressure is pushing the bar away through your shoulders, as in a handstand, lifting the bar up, as in a cast, or pulling the bar down, as in an underswing or giant, you're always exerting force on the bar. Uneven bars is a tricky event, but keeping these three simple ideas in mind will help you avoid a whole headache of small execution errors that create big frustrations in even the highest levels of gymnastics. Our third competitive event, balance beam, seems to be the toughest event for a lot of people. The idea of standing atop a 4-inch wide piece of equipment and tumbling and dancing across it, to me, quite honestly, seems a bit ridiculous. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things that we can keep in mind and work on to help remove some of the anxiety and frustration of beam. The first idea that I like to convey when people are working on beam is that each and every action has to be 100% deliberate. When you're up on that 4-inch beam, any tiny little movement could send you off balance and pull you right down from the beam. For that reason, you absolutely need to know where your head, arms, hips, legs, and feet are at all times. Further, you should put them there intentionally, and hopefully, nothing should be out of place. Second, very much related to the first, is the idea of alignment. On no other event is it important to consider posture as much as it is on beam. Good posture generally means that your head is stacked over top of your shoulders stacked over top of your hips over top of your knees, and your knees over top of your feet. Having strong posture and alignment on top of the beam, especially while you're tumbling and dancing, is what keeps you on top of the beam. We want to feel as if some invisible string dropped straight through the center of our body is pulling us up, lifting us into perfect alignment. It's challenging, but we've got to maintain that straight and strong alignment through all of our skills if we hope to stay on top. Finally, the last thing that I like to tell every one of my gymnasts is that beam is a different event than floor, and we have to treat it as such. Even basic skills like cartwheels have to be approached differently, because an error that we can get away with on floor, we probably can't get away with on beam. It sounds really silly, but keep in mind that all of our skills, dance, tumbling, and choreography, have to be done in a perfectly straight line on top of a 4-inch piece of wood covered in leather. Remember to bring your feet and hands directly in front of or beside one another to make sure that you're able to land on top of the beam. You can't land with your feet staggered or apart. On to our last event, and our last event is floor exercise. Floor was another event that I really enjoyed. Floor is theoretically a pretty uncomplicated event. There's nothing to hold on to, nothing to balance on top of, just 160 square feet of spring-loaded carpet. One of the ideas that helps keep me calm on floor is knowing how to create speed through tumbling, and that's by changing shape. Generally, when we think about floor, we create speed and rotation by moving between our tight arch position and our tight hollow position. Think of a back handspring. When we first jump to leave the floor, we jump to a tight arch position, and we maintain that position until our hands contact the floor. From there, we snap to a tight hollow position, snapping our feet down and our chest up, arriving safely back on our feet. The same goes for salto skills such as tucks and layouts. Make sure we're aggressively snapping from the tight arch to the tight hollow to create fast and crisp tumbling. The second concept to understand is angular momentum. Think for a moment about what a back layout looks like. Now, think for a moment about what a whip back or tempo salto looks like. Theoretically, both of these skills are stretched back saltos. So what makes them different? The angles. When we take off for a back layout, we stretch out our back handspring, leaving our feet behind our torso. This allows our back layout to take off and go pretty much straight up into the air. When we execute a whip, we over-rotate our back handspring, scooping our feet through to contact the floor in front of our torso, creating the signature long, low, and fast look of the whip back salto. Note whether the skill you're performing is supposed to be a low, long stretching skill or a high, short distance skill. Finally, when I think about floor, I think about it being a time to really let your personality shine through. Your friends, coaches, and judges don't really get to see a ton of your personality on the other 3 events. But on floor, performing to music of your choice, dancing choreography, you finally get a chance to show a little flair. So don't be afraid to have fun, to smile, and to put on a show. Coaches and judges want to see that you're having fun doing gymnastics. Give yourself a little break and let loose. The key thing I want you to take away from this episode is that each event has its own character and should be approached differently than the others. You're not just doing gymnastics. Before mounting any equipment, take a moment to stop and think about what the event should look and feel like, and some simple key things that you can focus on, like the things we've talked about today. I know it's difficult, but try not to overthink any one event. Don't label any events as bad, because the events aren't bad, and you're not bad at any events either. As a human being, you have strengths and you have weaknesses, but we're constantly working to use our strengths to our advantage and to minimize and improve on our weaknesses. I hope this episode gave you a little bit of insight as to how I view and approach the events, and how you can start to view them differently as well, and some key ideas and concepts to keep in mind as you switch from event to event. Each event is different and deserves to be treated as such. As always, I'm super proud of you for taking a little bit of time today to make yourself a better gymnast and a better person. You rock, and you're going to do amazing things in your life.